Cool. Good one. Welcome again. Hello. Yeah, we have some interesting topics today, and yeah, can't wait to dig in. So, yeah, this week was an interesting week, kind of. I started getting back into content lately, which in and of itself is cool. I really like to talk about AI, so that's the most direct thing I have doing this. And I got across a video which I also posted concerning Klarna, which is a payment, provider. Sorry, I'm just like closing some things off here. So yeah, I always forget to close all the windows. So yeah, this provider, Klarna. So I get to here, and I think I can share this now properly. Tabs. No, this is not what I want. This is what I want. So okay, I think you can see it, right? Good. Yeah, that's the issue. Okay, cool. So yeah, AI made Klarna stop hiring. Let's check how one could get there. I thought it might be a nice idea to check the Klarna case, analyze what they've done, because bottom line is like they 1,000 people left through natural churn. They stopped hiring. And still, like, they have grown anyway in terms of revenue. So yeah, that's kind of the general feeling around this Klarna topic, is like what's going on here. And the Klarna CEO actually says, like, straight that AI is basically able to do all that we humans can do already, and it's just a matter of implementation. And while I don't think this is particularly true for all the work and all what humans can do, I think it's definitely something where we're getting there rapidly. So yeah, totally want to I totally want to be optimistic about that. But like 1,000 people, like, okay, you have to account for, like, there was this like tech layoffs season anyway, so nobody was hiring basically. But they pretty actively have said, like, hey, employees, we want to have AI make you more efficient, and if we achieve that, then you will get a higher paycheck. And who would have thought a higher paycheck got people to actually be interested in this topic, and they started developing AI tools, workflows, whatever. And I actually used my new favorite feature, which is Gemini with deep research. And it got a pretty... oh, that was an interesting voice. Sorry. It got a pretty interesting overview of what they've done. And I'm actually really happy to see that there is so much information out there about that, because I wasn't sure. So... one thing I was already aware of was this customer service thing, where they basically did AI powered like work that usually would have been done by 700 employees, and now it's completely done by customer service. And they reduced the average resolution time from 11 minutes to just 2, while maintaining the same customer satisfaction score as human agents. And that's like basically the key, right? So not only do we have the same satisfaction, we also get like from 11 minutes to 2 minutes. And that's I guess where it's all coming from is like, okay, usually we took 11 minutes, so we only have 8 hours of a shift. So that's like then one agent can only do per hour. Let's not take 11. Like let's take 10 minutes. So six cases per hour of work, and so it's totaling at what is it, 42 cases. So think about that, like, oh no, 42, 48, sorry, my math. It's 48 cases, while AI just takes 2 minutes working the whole day, doesn't have any shifts, whatever. But even if you just would deploy it for 8 hours for whatever reason, you still would handle 5 times the amount of requests, a bit more even. It's kind of ridiculous if you think about. The AI assistant has also resolved customer issues more quickly and has led to a 25% drop in repeat inquiries. So, yeah, 25% drop in inquiries that were reopened and go back. Like, would have been nice to have some background to what actually people are really thinking about that. So, yeah, but nonetheless, like it's really cool to see that. Next, AI in marketing and creative processes. Klarna has also leveraged AI in its marketing department, generating 1,000 images using generative AI tools like Firefly, Midjourney, and DALL-E in the first quarter of 2024. This has led to a 25% decrease in spending on external marketing suppliers and increased efficiency within the marketing team. So I'm wondering if that's counting for the 1,000 people. But no, like these are employees, right? So headcount has fallen by 22% to 3,500. And around 200 staff members are currently using AI for their core work. Oh, that's interesting. So that's kind of the gist of it, right? Because I would love to see the source. This sounds ridiculous. Okay, that's like to be effective reducing Klarna's workforce by because that it's not the source. That would be interesting to see. So, 20% improved financial implications. Payment service providers with cost savings, has committed salary cost savings. Market, okay. Where does he has this 200 number from? It's not here. Is it here? Oh yeah, that around 200 staff members are using AI for the core work. Interesting. So it would be like, if you think about it, like you had 200 people, they still do what they have done before. And now they're doing additionally the work of 4 more people. To be completely honest, it fits my experience, my personal experience, because it's not even rarely anymore that I save kind of like 5 days on a task that's a bit more complex, especially if it involves a lot of thinking through processing. I use like I became a O1 heavy user, because it's just like it's amazing what this test time compute does to instruction following and all the context related things. We will go more in depth into this later in the stream, but yeah, cool. So yeah, let's keep going. So yeah, so this is that. So okay, now think about it. Like we have 1,000 people less headcount, which is 22% of the workforce. Only 200 people of the staff are really using AI for their core work, which does not exclude that AI is doing work by itself. Would be some other interpretation of that. While those company continues to backfill essential positions primarily in engineering, the overall trend indicates a strategic shift towards automation and AI integration. Okay, so 200 staff members currently using AI for their core work. Jeez. It's really interesting. It's really like we have a lot more details down there, so I don't want to hang around here. But yeah, think about it: 22% less headcount with all the costs that come with that saved, and then you also save external stuff. Like you save external costs for marketing agencies producing images for you. Like that's just ridiculous if you think about it. Like 25% decrease in spending on external marketing suppliers and increased efficiency with the marketing team. So that's all. Like this disruption will be huge. And this I love this case because like that's proper company. Like they had 4,500 people going into this, and now they are like getting to the first real AI company. And the adoption rate isn't even high, right? So like 200 staff members, like that's not a lot. Cool. So yeah. AI for internal operations. Klarna utilizes AI for various internal operations, including financial analysis, which I'm really bullish on, to be honest. Product development. I'm also bullish on that one. And presenting financial results. This is something I've seen. Like I think he has kind of a digital twin. The CEO has a digital twin, AI twin of himself, and is going to earnings calls for him, presenting financial results, which is kind of interesting. And AI in advertising campaigns. Klarna's use of AI for its advertising campaigns threatens to upend a decade-old industry of creating prototypes, storyboards, and test shots. Really? Oh, that's interesting. So advertising campaigns for me has like different sides to it. You have like the campaign itself, and you have the creatives, the videos and everything. Okay, but yeah, it's stuff like Sora or VO2 is actually going in that direction. So Klarna's AI assistant. Klarna's AI assistant is a key component of its AI strategy. Around 200 staff members are using the AI assistant for their core work. Within weeks of its January 2024 debut, the AI system was handling the equivalent workload of 700 full-time customers. Okay, that's the customer support agent. Okay, which is does in 2 minutes what the human needs 11 minutes for on average. Crazy to think of. But yeah, if you set up your AI wrong, if you set up your AI right, you're able to like get to like a really absurd amount of quality, which maybe does not overtake your best employees, but it comes close, and it's definitely better than most of your employees. Because like my feeling is like a lot of companies, like the staff, like 20% are really high performers at best, or like better than average, and 80% are not. Doesn't matter where you look. Even if you go through Google or Microsoft or something, take 100 people from them, 80% will be kind of average or below, and only 20% will be above. So that's at least how I've seen it oftentimes. I don't have numbers on that, so yeah. So what did they use? Klarna implemented a range of AI technologies and processes to achieve that. OpenAI integration, that one I knew. The assistant was basically built on GPT 3.5 back when they started, and now I guess it's like the latest model. And I think also they have to have some some voice. Maybe they used text to speech, and now they're waiting for something like Flash 2.0. But yeah, this integration enables Klarna to leverage OpenAI's advanced language models to handle customer service inquiries, streamline internal processes, and enhance overall efficiency. That we knew. Kiki, the internal AI assistant. Kiki is Klarna's Kiki's Swedish company. Kiki is Klarna's bespoke internal AI assistant designed to answer employee questions and provide support. So that's interesting. Like with Timeless, I've built something similar where we can process documents into basically out-of-the-box tutorials and answer internal support questions. So I guess that's really a use case where there's a lot of leverage to free up time, because you oftentimes have like highly qualified people doing the support stuff because they have to know all the systems, right? And freeing up these people is, I guess, really, really good. Kiki has become an indispensable asset with the company, responding to over 250,000 employees inquiries, and establishing itself as a reliable source of information and assistance. So yeah, this is also not that far off. You can do this with Copilot and a lot of other tools. So yeah, it's a quick win. If there are quick wins that don't need like the highest amount of personalization. That being said, you still need to put some work in, and you better have your permission structure ready before you do that, because otherwise you might leak documents that you didn't want to leak. AI co-pilots for software engineers. Klarna software engineers utilize AI co-pilot assistants to generate and review computer code. Okay, is this something proprietary, or did they use just like GitHub Copilot? Interesting. Yeah. And they have a shopping assistant. Do they? Yeah, why wouldn't they? Wait, I go for the English variant. It's giving me the German anyway. Can I switch the language? I wasn't even aware that they sell stuff. It looks like Amazon. So where is my AI assistant? Or maybe I have to be logged in. But I don't see any chatbot here. Maybe when I search. Okay, yeah, never mind. It's not part of today's video. But yeah, I'm shopping assistant, helping users spend less time and support them finding the right goods. This is also such a huge lever you can pull, because imagine how much easier is the buying decision if you go in a store and someone is like really caring about you looking good, getting the right stuff, and you feel kind of welcome, and you feel like helped, and you're not alone, because and if you are close to a buying decision, having this AI assistant like right there to give you like this last push, I guess this can have huge implications on revenue. And yeah, cool. Like I like that they just go for it. Everything that's really, let's say, easy to implement. As far as I know, they paid like $4.5 million to get the service, like the support agent running. So that's what I'm always saying. Like, you have to put in the work to get this running. Let's see, what else do we have here? Reduced headcount. The company's headcount has decreased 20%. Shift in hiring focus with Klarna. Increased employee productivity. Yeah, obviously. Statements, insights. Klarna CEO, that's where this all started, has been outspoken about the company's AI strategy and its impact. Believes that AI can already perform most human jobs, and that its application and implementation are the key factors determining its role in the workforce. Yeah, definitely. It's the same with agents, right? So if you want to have digital employees, that's what we talked about last week, you have this notion of there just needs to be a good setup and a good onboarding. And if you've done that, then the more you put work into getting them just right and to like start off, and then keep on putting work in like on the go, like start with level 1, work yourself up, because that's what I'm missing, because I'm using and leveraging AI every day, the whole day basically. Like I barely do any tasks anymore that are not involving any usage of AI, because I always have to think something through. For example, if I create an offer, I've created an offer last year for software development, and I took this offer and I took the transcript of the meeting I had when we talked about the offer, put it into Claude, and said, like, please create an offer for me. That are the key parameters. I always guide it as much as I can, but I don't write out the whole thing. And this is already saving so much time. And then I took this offer that Claude generated, and I went over to 01 preview back then, but now it would be a 1 pro mode even, and said, hey, this is like what my estimates are and what I would love to offer. Could you please simulate this development and check if the estimates are like realistic? And then with 01, I was able to like correct the offer, get a more reliable, and of course I was evaluating that. So I've done a lot of software projects the last 1.5 decades, so I know what I'm up to. But still, it was really cool because it's always again and again. I have this. Did you think about that? I have like this coworker who just looks at stuff instantly and gives you suggestions. And that's highly valuable. And so offer creation, I use it a lot for analyzing documents. I use it a lot for yesterday I did an assignment task where I said, hey, this is like the old list, this is the new list, and I need a mapping. Maybe it's not complete, but like try your best. That's like was a bit more sophisticated than that, but in short, that's what we did. So there's all these small tasks that involve text reading, analysis, because how much text did you read in your life, especially for work, that you didn't need to read for yourself, because only for the next small task to be able to fulfill that. And then you fulfill the task, and then the text you read and the hour you spent analyzing the document is gone and worthless. And now now you can use AI for that and say, hey, this is what I want to achieve. That's the base. Please try. And AI, and that's something I want to talk later about, is AI is really, really, really good at analyzing what's there. It struggles more generating than reading. The cool thing is you can generate and let it read and fix itself. And that works better and better with each model generation and iteration. Okay, let's go on. Focus productivity, sharing AI gains with employees. So that we had concerns and criticisms. While Klarna's AI strategy has generated attention for its innovative approach, it has also faced some concerns and criticisms. Job displacement concerns, ethical considerations, the usual stuff. Potential impact on customer experience. Like, to be honest, why does it impact it? It's if I save time, like, it's not just me and my employees not needing 11 minutes but 2. It's also my customer does not have to spend more minutes in support than necessary. Like, my customer is handled in 2 minutes instead of 11. So the customer satisfaction with that alone should be at least equal what it is, or be even higher. So, and the drop in repeat inquiries, I think, shows it also pretty well, that like if you have a quick resolution, if you have someone who always knows all the best practices to solution, which AI can do, then you're basically set. I'm not sure if like this is done. I guess at least with chat, maybe even with voice. I don't know exactly, to be honest. But if it's not done with voice, it will be done with voice pretty shortly. And I think the whole customer service is solved basically. But you have to get this right. Like I said, Klarna, like I think they spent like $4.5 million for developing this. So yeah, keep that in mind. You have to put in the work. Employee satisfaction. Oh yeah, Glassdoor rating from 3.8 in 2022 to 3 this month. Interesting. So Glassdoor, as far as I know, is a site where people rate their employees. Okay, interesting. Might this be because people are afraid? Not sure. I think there is also this notion in the workforce that like some people are seeing this as like, and also only 200 people use AI actively. Like maybe the others feel just like left out. Yeah. If you implement AI in your company, please make sure you get it. You get it to everyone involved and everyone who's actually getting touched by the changes. Like take them with you. They are your most valuable assets anyway, because they know the work and they know what to do and they can give like highly valuable input. And you always have to, like I always say, like start off with asking your staff like, what's the least enjoyable thing about your job? And I might have a solution for that. And then the acceptance will be a lot higher, I guess. And we have this with the Otto Group, which is a big retailer here in Germany. They have 26,000 employees. I think 13,000 of them use the internal AI chat, which they built. And people are getting creative really, really quick. And it's not only that. Like I can hand this over to my grandma and she starts using it, because using natural language feels natural even to people that are not digital natives. Okay. Future plans and development. Expansion of AI capabilities. Klarna plans to continue developing its AI assistant, potentially integrating more advanced features and expanding its roles in customer service and other areas. AI for credit assessment. Ooh, this is a really sensible area. At least in the EU. I'm not sure about other parts of the world. To be fair, there's already a lot of AI involved in statistics and stuff in credit assessment. But this is kind of like their like biases and stuff. And in the EU, I think we have AI is not allowed to make a decision. So the assessment still has to be overlooked, and there is a human that has to decide if someone gets a credit or not. That being said, it might be different in other parts of the world. So yeah, if we have something in Europe, then it's regulation. Okay. Quickly check. Continued focus on AI-driven efficiency. Yeah, of course. Plans to nearly half its workforce from 3,800 to 2,000, leveraging AI for a percent. So I give them the first 1,000, because if they replaced a lot of employees from customer service, if they replaced a lot of or if they did not replace developers because other developers are just outputting more now. There's always this also notion of long-term success, so it has to work for a long time. So if Klarna fails, we know that AI isn't there yet. But if they already have gotten rid of 1,000, I don't know where the 3,800 comes from. I think it's an older number. Would have to check the sources. But if they make this step, they would have lost over 50% of the workforce while keeping up their business. And this would be like, this is disruption live. Like I would love them to. I would love to just have someone from Klarna to tell. Like if anyone from Klarna sees this video, we have a podcast with my wonderful co-host Svetlana. Let us talk. I would love to hear what this is all about and how you're doing it and what you're doing. as much as you can talk about it. Right? Benchmarking other fintech companies, critics for lending, fraud detection. Yeah, fraud detection is also a big one, but also I would say like classical AI might have the edge on that. But yeah, cool. So yeah, that's the Klarna case. Talked a bit longer about that than I wanted, but I'm fascinated, and yeah, really. I will follow this up. We will have a follow up on this and some stream down the line, maybe a year from now or something. But yeah, okay, that was Klarna, and their context. So context. This one will be a bit freeform, but I want to talk about AI context and what does AI context even mean? Because you have a lot of people who like put a lot of emphasis on prompting, and this is not an IT topic, and so on and so forth. And all this soft talking, need to get my language straight. And all this soft talking is actually, how should I say, annoying? Because people, like, of course, AI is not an IT project only. But no IT project in B2B is. Maybe some server replacement stuff. But I've done ERP software for for my whole career. And implementing new software for business processes wasn't ever an IT-only department. That being said, someone has to actually do this. So your IT has to be involved. And one thing, and I think that's really important for this, is there is no shortage of developers that are not the best in using language to express what they want. So it might be a bit, I might be a bit biased, and might also be a lot of prejudice here, but I'm actually pretty sure that we need to help developers even more than we have done before in previous technological revolutions, because we need to talk differently. We need to leverage language, because I'm completely honest, I don't even know when I've written a line of code. I think this year, in 2025, I've not written a single line of code, but I produced a lot of software. And that's saying something, I guess. I'll talk about it when we go to the artifacts part. But that's what I mean. Like, you have this incredible opportunity, but this incredible opportunity depends on how you use language and how you use the technology itself. And I want to try some better understanding, or like to deliver some better understanding why AI does what it does, because a lot of it involves context and the ominous self-attention mechanism. So imagine you have, I'll try to do this with 2 dimensions. So imagine we have 2 dimensions, and we have just y-axis, an x-axis. No worries, I won't do a lot of math here, but we have to do some math. So this is like highly simplified of what's happening. But let's have let's create a sentence like, who was the president? Okay. Which Italian food is made of it's made of tomatoes. Which Italian food is made of is most popular. And I think that's even not a bad idea. So every LLM takes the sentence you give it and it splits it into so-called tokens. Just for simplicity, we will say a word is a token. Just for simplicity. Now, let's take the word food. And the word food is somewhere placed here. And because we work with a vector space, which is like multidimensional, you can't visualize it properly. And usually I would need I would need some 3D visualization at least to get this properly, but I'll try with that. What does a vector do? A vector takes a vector just is a point in the grid. For example, here let's just say this is like that. Okay. So this 1, 2, 3, 4, and we say 1, 2, 3. So the vector of this point would be 3, 4, or 4, 3, I think 3, 4. So we go 3 along the x-axis. So, and then we say, okay, what does an LLM do? So the LLM goes ahead and tries to do something that's called self-attention, which means it tries to get food into context with Italian. It tries to get food into context with which, and so on and so forth. So this is basically what it tries to do. And what it then does, it takes Italian and moves the point by multiplying with some other vector. It's just like would be in product, say like we just like say what is that? 2, 1, and it moves the vector. And if you actually do this calculation with the reference, like this is like highly simplified. There's a lot more that happens there, but like we need to understand like this one simple concept is that we move we have like this is creating a movement direction. So we point from the starting point to the next point, and this point will be closer to something like pizza, pasta, and other stuff that he would set into context with Italian, because from food multiplied with Italian we get to food that's pizza, pasta, and maybe a lot of other stuff. And then we would do the next. We would do this basically with all the points, with all the tokens, and would try to set them into context of each other. And this is where context is so important, because if you think about this, like you have this moving. You have this point in space for food, and you try to set it into context, and then the point moves something else, somewhere else in the vector space. This is a process that's quadratic in its nature. So you kind of increase the length of your context, and it has to set it into context with more words and with more information. And then it can be, if your context is like really huge, it starts to pull it in one direction, and then the next calculation pulls it in the other direction. So that's where the ambiguity of context also comes in. So if your context is not well structured, so like your context is your prompt basically, and your context gets too long, you have these like conflicting parties that try to move the point to somewhere where you might get into a wrong answer, because what they try to do is they set everything into context and try to move food, Italian, and whatever closer to where they have to be in this whole context they're in, like each word in its context of its surroundings. And then they go ahead and try to calculate the next token, which then starts being your answer. And that's the interesting part. So based on all the vector calculations that go on here and the points that we end up with, we calculate the next point that's close to whatever we calculated there. If your context gets long, it becomes difficult for the LLM to get the context always right, and that's why your answers might get more generic. You might get hallucinations. You might get just simply like wrong answers. Like, for example, if you would say doner kebab, it's not really Italian, is it? So that would be just wrong. It's still food, but like, yeah, the pointing vector just got to the wrong place, and that's like the basic technical understanding. So enough math. What does this mean in practice? So I want you to just remember some things, like the context is king. That's like everything you put in the context. It has to be precise, because try for it to be as short as possible while have so much clarity and information that there is no ambiguity. So I think that's ambiguity. So what do I mean by ambiguity? So if you have a request, for example, let's say, please give me the numbers. So the Klarna CEO gets in, asks, please give me the numbers. Like, what does this mean actually? Like, there is so much unanswered questions. It's like, which numbers? From what department? Sales or purchase? So, and so on and so forth. So a better way would give me like, would be a prompt like, give me the numbers from the last week for total sales and profit, for example. Profit. It's not perfect. Still, there's still some way to go, but it's already better. So because we already defined better which numbers, and we said, okay, we don't need a department, we just want overall, and we want sales, right? So what we've done here, and that's important if you prompt, is just reduce the ambiguity, which reduces the amount of errors it does because it just knows better. Because if you have someone who's like, you have to imagine like every time you prompt the AI with a new chat, this is mostly a blank slate. Chat GPT has like this memory feature and stuff, so there's technical solutions to that. But in general, if you just would launch a local LLM and would use it, it's like vanilla. You don't have any information. So that means, and everything you send to it, it just processes it, gives you the answer, and then it's done with it. So it's not saving anything. These LLMs are stateless, which means every time you prompt any LLM and you want to chat with it, you have to give it all the chats over and over again. Like you give it the whole chat, it gives you the next message. It gives you the whole chat with the next message, like its answer and your next message. So it grows and grows and grows. And that's why the longer your chat goes, the more generic your answers get, the more it starts hallucinating, the more it starts forgetting stuff. And this is all because of this self-attention mechanism, because moving a point in like 1,000 dimensions, you might have conflicting, you might have more conflicts with that with a larger context than you have with a smaller context. And that's why you have to really make sure that you build a good context. But how do you build a good context? So we have here a prompt. This is like a simple prompt, but there is more to a prompt, because a prompt consists of different parts. So what you do is basically the last part, and it's and it's the user prompt. So above that, there is something that's called a system prompt. System prompt. And then we also have to account, so I keep it simple for now. There's like, in theory, there's even more to get in there. But there would be like message history. You could also have like artifacts and documents which you'll upload. Like, everything goes into this context, and it can grow pretty fast and lead to lackluster results. So let me quickly, this is optional, this is not all the time. So, and also like, this is technically also optional, but most out-of-the-box solutions like ChatGPT have an own system prompt that reduces friction and downfalls. But yeah, so this system prompt is the first tool you have to leverage. So what you want to do with that is basically say, hey, first of all, describe the task. In our case would be, you are a financial analyst and report directly to the CEO. Please, you always give concise answers. So this is kind of a static part of system prompt, right? So you have a new chat, and the chat right away knows, okay, I'm a financial analyst. I have directly to report to the CEO, which in and of itself has implications. I keep it short now, but I would go more into the detail when I would set it up properly. So the next thing would be something I call it guidelines, where you say, hey, this is how to do it. And this is something that leverages in-context learning, which we'll talk right after that. And this is a beautiful thing, because every LLM has the capability of taking instructions and, as if it has already learned them, apply them directly. For example, what I do every day is I say, hey, I want to do this post, and I give it storytelling guidelines and examples with, so it gets better outputs. You can give it more of your own content to give it some options to learn your voice and tone, right? You can give it a like if you program, you can give it a documentation, like a complete part of the documentation. Also, like, don't overload it. Give it what it needs for the task and not more. But yeah, you can give it a documentation of an API. And I do this all the time with new APIs. I don't even read the documentation anymore. I just create a file, hand it into the context, and say, hey, based on this context, please generate me code to test the API. Works like a charm. And Cursor has even like, as in programming ID, has even some more interesting features to leverage there. Well, that's for another stream. So guidelines. Next thing is examples. Based on the guidelines, I always try to give it examples that fit the guidelines. You have to be careful there. To give you an example, I have built up a system prompt, and I gave it a structure, a JSON structure, which I wanted as output, and I had links. And kind of randomly, it was and it was supposed to take the links from the text it got and put it into a new structure, but don't change the links. But in my sample, I had like left out some of the search parameters in the URLs in the examples, like completely. And that's why he started cutting them off over and over again. It took me some time to figure this out, but that's what you have to be sure is that your examples are precise and precisely fitting to the guidelines. Let me, this is how we have done it and what worked. And there is the part where you can leverage building these systems yourself, because this here, it doesn't have to be static. This can be and should be dynamic, because the CEO creates a user prompt and asks for something, which is like just different parts, financial analysis, but different views, different angles. This might trigger a guideline change, or let's say you use another API. The guidelines change, the examples change, and this can be dynamic in the background, done by AI itself. It takes the request, categorizes it based on the category, it gets the right guidelines, gets the right examples, and you have a dynamic system prompt. And this is like one of the best things you need to do with all your AI systems, is like, get this right. If you get the guidelines and examples part right, you are already set up for so much higher returns on in terms of good AI responses. It's just also like, it's really satisfying, to be honest. If you get this right and you work and you test and this just works and gives you good answers, which you can like basically copy paste, and you build trust with the system. That's actually awesome. So this part can and should be dynamic. My job creeped in. So okay. Good. And what I also do always, like, I describe what is guidelines, examples, and then at the bottom I also do something like maybe just get me going here. if you set it up for one of this like the same task over and over again, go ahead and just like or if it always has base tasks, you can leverage this also in the system prompt, like base tasks and description. And one thing, if we talk about agents, which is highly important, which also goes into the system prompt, is tools or function calls or functions. This is where you basically tell the LLM, hey, you have sets of functions you can leverage and use. This is the function, these are the parameters, that's how you execute them, and that's what you expect as a result. Please work with that. And then it starts to get agentic because the system decides itself when to call which function and to retrieve the right information. So that's where you get into all this agentic and agency, what we talked about last week. Message history is self-explanatory. What you can do optionally is this option is to summarize the message history. Summarize dynamically. So summarize dynamically. So just means like summarize. I think it's with the A, right? Summarize. Yeah. No. Yeah. Is it just English and US? Yeah. Okay. Dynamically. Yeah. Not a native speaker. Sorry for that. Summarize that. So this is a way, like if you summarize, and that's for example, what I think ChatGPT does by itself. Like you can like go further with one and the same chat. But I wouldn't rely on that, because in the summarization you're already losing details, which in the end gives you more or less the same results. Because inside of a chat, I would try to keep the whole context, but just keep the chat short. And what you do afterwards is basically what we will talk about, leveraging artifacts. We'll get to that in a minute. So yeah, we are already deep into in-context learning, right? So this is what I mean. Like you have this system prompt, you have the dynamic guidelines. By the way, you can do all of this. You don't have to use a system prompt. If you're prompting ChatGPT and you don't want to set up a GPT for something, which just because you have this one-time task or something, you can just use the user prompt. Just be aware there might be system prompts that are kind of conflicting, but usually you can test pretty well with the normal chat models. And that's, by the way, also what I do. Like I don't build a complete AI system and then try it out. It just, first of all, if I have a use case which I want to automate, I do like step-by-step manually go into ChatGPT or Claude or Google or whatever, and just prompt and try it out in there, see if my prompts work as expected, and then we go from there. But yeah, so that's why, like, the concept of a system prompt. I think if you are in the GPTs, it's called a bit different. Do I have the English one? Yes, I have the English one. No, explore GPTs, my GPTs. Let's go here. Edit GPT, yeah. There we go. Damn it. I don't have the screen shared. So it's called instructions, yeah. So it's called instructions when you create an own GPT. Don't let the vocabulary like put you off. It's it's just what you understand as a system prompt. So just to recap, context is king, because self-attention is really dependent on how good and also how long the context is. So the context has to reach a sweet spot where it's it has all the information the AI needs to solve the task. And on the other hand, it's as short as possible to not use up too much of your context. And that's because of the self-attention mechanism and how it sets its words tokens into context with each other, and every token gets into context with all the other tokens. Yeah, that's by the way, like, if you just understand there is some space, and in the end it's all about moving the points in the right direction to have the highest probability to get to the next point, to the next token near to the points cluster, or nearest to the points cluster, then you're getting your next token. And the better your context is, and the better your prompting is, the more closer you get there, where you need to be, and you kind of steer the AI. And the in-context learning part, and there is even some new studies like from the end of December, which show that it's not only learning getting the text. It's actually if you put in like processes and patterns, it overrides its training with the new patterns you gave it in the context. So in-context learning is like a highly dynamic, highly efficient way of working with AI and prompts without needing to retrain, without anything. And that's why I'm a big I'm not an opponent of training, but this is like the last resort. There are some use cases where you need training, but basically I'll always suggest, like, get your system prompts, get your instructions, everything right, so that you don't need to train, because in-context learning is really, really, really powerful. Cool. Let's talk about leveraging artifacts for complex tasks. And this is really interesting. So what I was doing, I was developing something. So the first thing if I want to develop something, the first thing I come up with is a concept. And I literally create concept.md markdown file. Usually it works like this. I type in my idea into O1. O1 comes up with a concept, and the verbosity of O1 is really helpful in that, to be honest. Then we iterate a bit back and forth, and that's my concept. I copy this concept over to the MD file, and then I get to my cursor agents, and I say, hey, cursor, please take this concept and let's work on that. And let's say my concept something simple, like, or maybe we do the concept in a second. Let's start with something simpler. Let's say build me a to-do app. Classic. I'm sorry, but to-do app. And you say something like, let's go step by step, and then it starts handing you over. This is what I would do, and then then you like start implementing this, implementing features. Okay. So what we usually all did and do is we have this one chat where we go and it spits out code and we do corrections and go back and forth. And this is all one chat. And as we just learned, getting the context growing leads to more like nonsensical outcome, hallucinations, more generic answers, and so on and so forth. So this is we don't want this. What can we do to mitigate that? One thing I do is I say, okay, let's start with a concept. And what we do then is, our first step is not like implement this. Our first step will be, please suggest the smallest first step we could take. So if we say it's a to-do list, smallest thing we could do is maybe like add a to-do, delete it, check a to-do, delete a to-do. Without any database, we just like do a simple list. We don't add any authentication. We don't add anything. A server, maybe a server. Or maybe we don't only do HTML, but like the smallest version that still has a step into the direction of the concept. And then it goes ahead, suggests something. You can loop this until you have a suggestion which you feel it's small enough, and then implement. And what I also do is create tests. And that's the important part. We talked about artifacts. It's already creating a lot of artifacts with the files for the program code. But that's not the artifact you should work with. What you should do instead is like create a README of the current state of the program. So the beauty here is, so you have code that's working, it's tested, and you create a README of the current state. This first step is done. It's like you've gone to it. And then what you do is basically you go ahead and say, hey, we now not only have the concept ND, we also have the README, which is our state. That's the state of the program. It's what it can do, right? So let's just put this here. Let's say readme.md. And now you say, hey, this is my concept. And by the way, this is my README. Let's go here. So, and then I prompted with something in the ballpark of like, hey, this is my concept, and the README shows what we already have. Please suggest a next small step. And then again, it suggests, you loop. The suggest part is like, you have to imagine it's loopable. And then you go ahead and say, okay, implement, create tests, and then the parts part we have to first get it in there. Create tests. So, and now it's not creating the README, because we already have one, right? It's update the README. So from everything we've done now, update the README. And so you get some lines, like maybe you have a new API in there, maybe you have a new function which you can use, whatever. And then you go basically from here back to here and start all over again. This is a simplified version of what I had on one of my first streams, which I called the idea framework, where we iteratively, with derivations, which are the smaller steps of our, we extract derivations of our base concept and try to move towards it. Why is this working? And I can assure you it's working really, really well. This is working because this state is not growing as fast as a chat would. And it's also not growing in as fast as we create new artifacts, because if we would put in all the code every time, it would get confused again. It would spit out nonsensical stuff. And that's where you can leverage artifacts. In this case, it's README, but I will have a non-coding example in a second. So you have these artifacts, and now you can iterate this until you're ready. And one beautiful thing is, at some point along these iterations, you might be even able to say, hey, the concept was not that well thought out in the first place, and during implementation we like the AI and I figured out we could do slightly different direction and getting an even better result, because this concept has some core goals, some core value add it wants to create, right? So, or it wants to give you. And I should split this bit. Old. Okay. So that's really the beauty of it. So you always you're agile basically, because even if this is like also a few shot prompting, it's already better than like build me to-do app and go for it. But even if we do few shot prompting, with a lot of stuff we do with AI, we still have like this zero shot mindset, because what needs to happen for you that your step-by-step plan that you, or like what needs to be what needs to be a given for the step-by-step plan to be worked out. It would assume that you already, from your first idea, step by step, know what everything you will need to do along the way to solving the task. And it's fine for a lot of tasks. That's why few shot prompting is something you definitely need to use. But it's not the general solution for everything. And to be honest, like one of my biggest problems here with code is like the AI writing bad tests, which is just me not setting up the prompt properly, right? This is kind of what you need to understand is like, if you keep your context, it's not fully constant, but it's a lot smaller than all your code or all the chat, right? You can achieve like really complex, or like you can go in with really complex ideas and just iterate on them and build through to them. I created a complete backend which creates Docker containers, which are meant for agents to be their like source of truth, which they can exchange with each other and assign each other's tasks. And I've not written a single line of code, and it's all working. I have close to 100% test coverage. It's just working. But enough coding. Let's go for something else. For example, I want to let's take something like run. I want to write a financial report. So same thing here. Like this is basically our concept, right? So let's not call it concept.md. Let's call it like task.md. Maybe not even call it MD. Like we just like screw it. This is a prompt. We go into a one, Claude, Gemini, whatever your local AI. Is that I want to write a financial report. So your first prompt would be like, I want to write a financial report. Please suggest what we would need to start. Focus on a small step. Thing is that all the LLMs are really, really trained and dialed in on a lot of chain of thought thinking. So you need to kind of force him with something like that to stay in his lane, basically, like to not go the step-by-step route, but just like make suggestions. And then here's the same, suggest. And then it goes ahead and like fulfills. Fulfills. Okay. Executes. Sorry. Executes on the task. And what? Yeah, and then we're good. Like, so what we might have done here now is it might have called tools, and it created a SQL statement, prompted executed the statement on the database because it is inside a financial report AI, and now it created an artifact, which is basically like our data, like financial data. So, and maybe it just spit it out, like it's in your chat. What you do is to take this this result that you have in the chat, you just copy it. You open a new chat and said, hey, by the way, this is my result. So an artifact doesn't have to be a file. It can just like take a result from one chat over into the other chat, right? So this is my result. Copy, paste from previous chat. We want to get a financial report. This is like highly simplified everything. Like you wouldn't be able to copy paste this, but for the stream, I think at least you can understand what I'm up to. We want to get a financial report. Please suggest the next step. And maybe the next step would be like get even more data from another database, whatever, because the first one, you should only like one small step, take from one database. Now we need to get data from another database, set data into context with new data. And we have another like interim result. And then you update, you have this result and you just like next step, financial data 2, just like so, and you go and you basically do the same, like just exchange the data part. And that's also the cool thing, like you don't have to do the same. You can also say, okay, we now got the data, we got the report. Next step would be like, give me some suggestions, some insights on the data. What can you see from all the data you get? And that's the thing where you get into a territory where it's helpful and really cool to have a custom AI system, because doing this manually, open a new chat and stuff, like it's gotten better now with all the projects which like group your chats, but it's kind of getting kind of tedious. One thing I do using Claude, for example, I take this interim example and I just create an artifact inside the project and let it sit there so it can work with it. And then but then you also have to delete it and update with a new if you want to replace it. So like I said, it's getting kind of tedious, so it makes sense to go manually. But that's how you can leverage context to achieve something. Just let the AI create the artifacts, and by doing so, you kind of set the groundwork for every new chat. You don't overload your chat. You don't overload your context. Step by step, you get through, and you get to a result. This has some limits to it, I guess, and it's still I'm using it for like 2 months now. I think there is still a lot to discover and still a lot to research about and just test. But in general, I've done now so many highly valuable stuff for my own work with that I'm pretty much like set and can say with all my confidence this works like astonishingly well. Like in context learning, I'm using this for quite some time now, but this iteration process, this I call it idea framework, simple, so simplified idea framework. Yeah, go ahead, use it. You can use it like completely manually, like I showed you here. You can use it inside Cursor if you're a programmer, and work with the file functions that Cursor has. Yeah, it's really highly valuable, and it leverages system prompts, message history. Yeah, keeps it short and simple. Doesn't mean, like I've said a lot now here about like, it's like modern LLMs are really good already with context sizes to 50, 60,000 token. So, and that's already quite a lot. If you want to know how much, you can like Google token calculator, and then you can just type in some text, and we get some feeling for how much tokens which text is, because it's like you cannot actually say like that's the amount of words, because like I said, the LLMs are splitting this up into tokens. That being said, test this out, get a feeling of it. You will get a grip on it pretty quick. Leverage stuff like tools and functions. If you use something like custom GPTs or your own systems, it gives even more dynamic, and it gives it more dynamics, and it gives it more agency for everything. So yeah, that's basically my hack for you all. It's not even a hack. It's like the way I use these systems, because man, this changed so much for me in terms of AI coding. I can basically do everything now. I still have some pitfalls. Like I said, creating tests I need to work on some instructions and get some iron some kinks out. But yeah, besides that, this is really cool. And yeah, I cannot overstate this. Go ahead, try it yourself. You won't regret it, because yeah, that's something I just use every day, and I'm pretty confident it works well for your prompting efforts. And like I started this off by bashing a bit like all this prompt gurus and prompt guides. Just have in mind that you have to reduce all the ambiguity that goes and that is derived from a prompt, because what the AI tries to do is, from what you put in, create references and context around the words and each word is set into context with each other word. And they try to move the original word's position to the position with context, basically, inside this multidimensional space. So with that in mind, try to not overload your context, but try to give it as much information as you need, but keep it as short as you can to fulfill a task. And yeah, leverage system prompt for that. If you use GPTs, leverage system prompt, or even like developer prompt, with something new from OpenAI. Leverage whatever you can to set the system up for success. And if you set something up for success, who would have thought it has a higher chance to succeed? So yeah, more clarity, information, less ambiguity, but keep it short and simple. That's also something. If you build up your context, try to not have conflicting things in there. Like, because sometimes, even when you chat back and forth, you give it one instruction, then you give it another instruction. While it's following one or two or both, or trying to get somewhere in between, it gets messy. So see that you don't have like, I look for not having like ambiguity and contradicting information in the context. And yeah, this can be also leveraged for any agent stuff you want to do. There, it has to be even more sophisticated for that, because the agents have to create artifacts. Artifacts have to be leveraged. You have to keep state of what agent is doing what. So that's not ready yet. I'm working on that. And how to leverage this for agent. And I want to have this as a solution you all can use, so that your agents like automatically get a state of stuff, so that this is solved. Because there is still some, like I said, some open things I need to test, I need to research on, and also wait for some research. I'm not a researcher myself, but I try to keep track of papers that come out, in courtesy of channels I watch. So yeah, what should I say? Thank you. I think there were some of you still with me, and thank you very, very much for listening. Really highly appreciate you all. And with that said, have a really nice weekend wherever you are. I have to get to sleep now. It's pretty late here, so thank you very much. See you next time. Bye.